Welcome back everyone to the ultimate guide to Blender 3 rigging and animation, and this is where we left it off with our fish that's now done. So if we close that one down and let's open up the next one, which is called Morphing. Now what we want to do with this one is we actually want to take these cute little guys and actually turn them from one to the other. So into a furball and then into a sheep, from a sheep to a furball to an actual rabbit. So that's the idea here. And this actually then will give you the skills to actually go ahead and modify things like barrels into crates or whatever, wherever your imagination might take you. All right, so the first thing I want to do then is just go through actually the shaders. So if we come over to the shading panel, the issue what you're going to have with these is you need to make sure that your shader is set up correctly. Now, if you look at this, it might look complicated, but as soon as I go through, you'll actually understand what it is. It's basically just 4 shaders brought into a mixed shader. So these two are mixed shaders. One is the bunny and the sheep. So what that allows us to do is swap between them. So for instance, if I come to this one and bring this up, you'll see it actually changes over to the sheep. What this allows us to do then is, as we're morphing, we're also able to change the textures on the fly at the same time, because you can actually animate textures as well. So now that's explained, we will be coming and covering this a lot more once we've actually finished the morphing, but for now, let's actually do the morphing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a sphere. I'm going to make sure that each of these has the orientation in the center, which yours should. I'm going to press Shift S, cursor to selected, and I'm going to press Shift A and bring in a UV sphere. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, like so. And what I'm also going to do with this UV sphere is I'm going to actually subdivide it. So I'm going to come over to my modifiers tab. I'm going to come down to where it says subdivision. I'm going to bring it up 1, 2, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control A just to actually apply that subdivision on there. And then I'm going to right click and shade smooth. All right, so for now, we've actually got a sphere in, and we've got our rabbit, and we've got our sheep. So now let's actually come in and think about morphing them. The first thing I want to do, though, is actually bring our sheep over to our rabbit. So while we've got this cursor here, I'm just going to press Shift S, selection to cursor, and there we go. We've got our sheep over there as well. I'm just going to pull him down just a little bit, just so he fits a little bit better within there as well. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to join the sheep and the rabbit together, but I'm going to grab the sheep first, then the rabbit, because that actually has the right material on, and then I'm just going to press Ctrl J like so. Now I'm just going to come over. In fact, I won't do that, but I need to actually take off this bottom actual material, because we only want one material on here, because then that will make it much easier for us to work with. All right, now what we want to do is we want to come over, now we've joined them up, come to our modifiers tab, and what we're going to do is going to add in a shrink wrap. So come down to where it says shrink wrap, bring that in, and the target wants to be this actual sphere. So the moment I click on this sphere, you'll see what happens. Everything disappears. Now, if I hide the sphere, you'll see, whoops, I didn't hide the sphere. Let me just grab the sphere. If I hide it out of the way, here is our actual sheep and our bunny turned into an actual ball, which looks kind of cool. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on my sheep and my bunny, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over, click this little down arrow, and what you want to do is you want to apply it as an actual shape key. So apply as shape key. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press Alt H, and I'm actually, you can see that we've got this line appeared here, and the reason for that is because it's a bezier and it wants putting in with our animated fish like so. So that's actually hidden out of the way. Now this sphere here, we can actually delete it. We don't actually need it anymore, and you will now be able to come to your sheep and rabbit and come down to where this is here, so this shape key here, and then what you should be able to do now is if I scroll down, you can see I've clicked on my shrink wrap, so you'll have the shrink wrap in with your shape keys. The moment I bring this up, you can see that they both actually start turning into a lovely sphere. Now what I want to do is I want to add another couple of shape keys. So the first one I'm going to add in is plus. I'm going to call this rabbit or bunny, whichever one you want to call it, like so. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press tab, come to my rabbit, which his ears are here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make him really small without proportional editing on, really small, so he disappears into the actual sheep. I'm also going to pull him back a little bit so he's actually really in there so we can't actually see him at all. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press tab, and you'll see he actually appears. The moment then I put this up, you'll see he actually disappears and reappears like so. Okay, so now we're going to click on one more, and you guessed it, we're going to call this one sheep. And we're going to do the same thing with this guy. So I'm going to grab the sheep this time. I'm going to press S, pull him in like so, really small. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull him back into place so he's actually in our rabbit. So you can't see the sheep or the rabbit. The moment I actually click the tab button again, you'll see he appears and then he disappears like so. All right, so now we're ready to actually start animating this. So if I come over and put this on 1, we can actually start with there. Let's actually bring down our sheep. So I'm going to come to our sheep. I'm going to bring him all the way in like so. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make basically a keyframe for each of these. So if I come to this, I can value this. I can value it over here. And all I'm doing is pressing the I button down all of these. Now, at the moment, we've got it over 400, which is fine. We will shorten it down as we go on. But the first one I'm going to do is 100. Now, what I want him to do is I want him to turn into a fur ball and then swap with the sheep and turn into the sheep. So that's what we're trying to do here. So what I need to do is I need to come to the shrink wrap and I need to bring that down. Up like so. And then I need to come to my sheep and I need to bring him down like so. And you should end up with something like this, which is a mixture of the rabbit and the actual sheep. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to press I, and I on all of those. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the 200 like so. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this back into the sheep. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up like so. No, not on the sheep. Sorry, I'm going to bring that down. I'm going to bring the shrink wrap down. So the shrink wrap down like so. And then the rabbit, I'm also going to bring up like so. And now I should be able to press I, and I. Now, let's see what that actually looks like. So you can see that's morphing from the rabbit to the sheep. All right, so I hope you're happy with that because it's pretty nice, but we can do better than that. So what we're going to do now is the other way. So we're going to morph him back into a rabbit. Now, I'm not sure. I think we might be able to grab this one and bring it up. So let's see if we can actually bring that up and put it on 300. Let's just have a look what that does. I think that'll work. And then I just need to morph him back into the rabbit. So now if I bring this one, press Shift D, bring it all the way up to 400, should then morph back into the rabbit like so. So we've got rabbit to sheep. And there we go. Really, really nice. Now, I'm happy with that. The one thing I do need to do now is I need to go in now and alter the basic textures of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on 1 again. I'm going to go to my shading panel now. I'm going to open that up. And what I'm going to do is I'm also going to delete this actual material off because this was just really to show you what the sheep should look like. So if I minus this off now, we should just be left with this. All right, so you can see on mine, I've got my timeline over here. If you've not got your timeline on here, just click on here and put it on your actual timeline like so. And then what you can do is you can lift this up if you needed to, if you need to view what you're looking at. I don't think I actually need that up so far, so I'm just going to pull it down. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit to it. All right, so what we want to do is we want to put this basically, well, first of all, we want to make this smaller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab them all with A. I'm going to bring them down to around about 200, I think, something around 200. So I'm just going to zoom in and make sure that these are on 200. So if I press S and pull them out, and there you go. So now we can actually set the end to 200. And now you'll find that that much should be much quicker, like so. All right, this just to make it a little bit easier for us. So what I'm going to do now is, at the moment, I'm going to keep this on basically like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to go to each of these. So I've got these facts here. So I'm going to press I, and I, and then I'm going to come back to, I think I'm going to leave that on there. I'm going to put it on 1 again. I'm going to press I, and I. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the 50 mark. So just back 1. And I want to change it basically to the fur ball of the sheep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this one up. There you go. There's our sheep. And I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm going to leave that one as is. Yeah, that's the sheep. So I'm going to bring it all the way up like so. And then I'm going to press I, and I. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to 55, like so. And what I want to do is I want to basically have my sheep in there. So I want this down at, let's have a look. I want it on, I'm thinking I want it on that. That's what I want it on. And then I want to turn that up to the actual sheep. Yeah, that's how I want it. So I, and I. Now, let's see what that actually looks like in real time. So it should start turning into the sheep, like so. And now we want to turn it back into the actual rabbit. So on here, it's absolutely fine. We don't need to change anything at all on here because we're already at the sheep. So now what we want to do is we want to come to 145 and basically just swap them over. So 145. And what I want to do at this point is click I, and I, and then 150. So I'm going to put this on 150. I basically want to turn it the other way now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, first of all, put this to the furball. I'm going to bring this furball down to blue then. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click I, and I. And then finally, I'm going to go to 155. And I basically want to turn this from the furball to the rabbit. So I'm going to click that up, click that down, I, and I, like so. And now we should end up with it swapping between them both like so. Really, really nice way of actually morphing things. I'm just going to check actually and see if I grab them all, right click and put it onto Bezier. I just want to see if actually that makes any difference. So I'm just going to see if it makes it a bit smoother. Okay, so I'm going to actually try and put it onto linear. Yeah, that's definitely altered it. So I just want to see if that's actually smoother. Yeah, I'm not sure which one I like best, but either way, they're still pretty nice. All right, so basically that covers the whole of the actual morphing. So I'm just going to set this back to once so it just looks nice when we actually open it. And then what we'll do now is we'll close that down. And on the next one, we're actually going to be working on tank tracks. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got a lot out of it. And I'll see you on the next one, everyone. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.